Hey Computer, Play About Bees podcast.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back again to another episode of About Bees, Culture and Curiosity with your hosts, Ron Miksha and
Bedzina Mosiashvili.
And Bedzina, where are we and who's this guy that's in between us?
Well, I like to call this the magical school, the school bus, but it's like the yellow school chair.
You're sitting in a yellow couch. Okay.
Yeah, yellow couch.
For those people who are
very literal.
Yes, and we've got another voice. I just heard somebody else speaking. Where are they coming from? Inside the couch?
That's kind of how I feel. This couch has a personality. This is where I when I first came to the store. This is where I kind of got it. We talked for a little bit.
Yeah.
I really like this couch, and it fits nicely with the aesthetics of the room. I feel like I'm in nature, but somehow not. I don't know.
Okay, enough about you. Let's talk about Robert, who's sitting here waiting for us to say hello. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Ron. Hello, Bedzina. Hello.
So, Robert, you are the chief proprietor here at Worker and Hive. Worker and Hive being can we call it a bee supply company?
And yeah, absolutely.
And bee farm?
We do have some bees, yes.
And we're located in?
We're in Calgary, Alberta.
Calgary, Alberta. And why are we in Calgary, Alberta with this bee supply place?
What do you mean?
Well,
why did I choose this location?
Yeah, why didn't you?
It was very convenient. I lived here at the time.
But you are the only store, we should mention, this is the only official beekeeping supply store in Calgary.
In all of southern Alberta, yes.
And all of southern Alberta, yeah. And
yes,
supposedly we're the beekeeping capital of Canada.
That was actually one of the real question marks when we opened the store is, why has nobody done it before? What are we missing? Will this actually work if nobody's tried it before?
Right. But I think it would be, we should be open to expressing the fact that around the same time, several other people had the same idea. And for a short period of time, I think there might have been 3 different companies selling bee supplies and equipment, and one also about maybe an hour's drive outside of Calgary in Strathmore. So there were others briefly, but you were tenacious. You held on. You kept going.
I did. Actually, there was 4 at the time.
Okay.
So there was 4. There was a fella up in Crossfield selling supplies.
The north side of Calgary.
Out of a storage container. There was those folks in Strathmore selling off of their farm. There was another warehouse in town. And so we knew about them, obviously. And we knew that if we just opened an actual retail store where people can come in off the street with regular office hours, with regular stock, then we could service the needs a little bit better.
And you're servicing the needs really well. But there was a time when there was absolutely nobody selling any kind of bee supplies or equipment in the Calgary area at all, in all of southern Alberta. And then beekeeping became so incredibly popular. We went from about 20 beekeepers to maybe 300 beekeepers in the immediate vicinity. And there was a need for equipment to be readily available. And several people did kind of try it, but you've got a beautiful shop. We've taken some pictures earlier, but Zena was out there with the camera in your showroom, and we're going to maybe talk about your variety of supplies and also a little bit about your beekeeping.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, so
did you have something that no?
Yeah, we have Jessie on the side here. We have our first guest.
We'll cut this part out. No, I just wanted to be sure that there wasn't something you had to.
I was actually going to make a joke that I built the shop all by myself with no help from anybody.
Okay, so we'll pick up right there. We'll pick up right there.
Then he was all by himself.
But that's right. Yeah, I was just in the shop earlier, recorded some footage, and people will be seeing it right now if you're watching the video. But yeah, you got a variety of products. I actually had a brief little marketing. I had a little
You
brief.
came in and helped us out for a little bit.
Yeah,
It was
just
nice.
in the summertime, and that really that's that was kind of like it was a summer thing, and but from what I remember, there was 3,000 unique SKUs items.
Yeah, approximately. It kind of goes up and down, and some of those are a little misleading because, we carry 3 brands of beekeeping suits with 6 styles per brand, and then
That's
7 or 8
8.
sizes per style.
Okay, so now we're up to about 50. But that's out of 3,000 different item tracking pieces of nails and wax and molding and containers and
honey containers, candle molds, candle wicks, beekeeping suits, gloves, frames, boxes, kits, extractors, honey creamers, you name it.
Okay, so I'm a new beekeeper, let's pretend, and I just show up here at the door, and you see me standing there at the door, and you kind of descend on me like a vulture.
The first thing we do is we make a joke about how you're going to come in and say, I'm thinking about getting into bees.
Yes, and then what do you say to them?
It's super easy. You should try it.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure that's what you say to them. No, what I'm getting at is with 3,000 items and this really well-stocked showroom, the new person who shows up at the door and doesn't know anything about bees but thinks they want to give it a try, which is fair enough. I mean, go ahead, give it a try. How do you steer them? Like, what do you tell them? They're totally new. They haven't been stung before, perhaps. What's kind of on your mind when you see them?
Yeah, the haven't been stung issue isn't really top of mind because generally we like to treat everybody that walks into the store and wants to purchase something from us as adults, right? They get to make their own decisions and they get to spend their money how they choose to. We don't stock anything in the store that I wouldn't personally use, so nothing is a gimmick. There's some things that have very situational use, but nothing is purely a scam or snake oils or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm pretty confident that people can buy anything from us and they're not going to think that we're taking advantage, especially the new beekeepers. So the first thing that we do is we try to assess what sort of experience and education they have. So we encourage people to take an intro to beekeeping class, a course. I know, Ron, you've done them in the past where they're very inexpensive or free. We've got one coming up that Jesse will be teaching at, I believe it's Greengate Garden Center. It's very accessible. It's only a few hours and you get to come and find out in a formal setting with other people asking questions about what it's like to start beekeeping. What do you need to do? What kind of equipment? What's the time of year you need to start? So that's the first thing that we do is we try to assess what kind of background information they have and experience. And after that, we talk about what type of equipment that they want to beekeep in. So top bars used to be popular. We'd like to start people in a Langstroth style situation because it's easy to get the equipment. It's easy to get help with that style of equipment. And generally speaking, it's the best way to start the commercially accepted way of beekeeping.
Yes, and not just commercially accepted way, but even among hobbyists, because I mean, let's face it, although it's a very popular hobby, it's good exercise, it's a lot of fun, nothing to put down beekeeping or beekeepers, but not all beekeepers stay. And they have to consider that they might be one of those high percentage who after 2 or 3 years have to move because of work, who have developed an allergy to bee stings, and they have to get rid of their equipment. Yeah. So you want to make sure when this new person comes in the door that you're not setting them up for a situation where they've got to unload things that, that are kind of just too situational, exactly. If that was your word.
Yeah, and it's easier to learn I'll use the term standard style of beekeeping, but I don't really mean it that way. But it's easier to learn the common style of beekeeping and then bridge out into the different ways of keeping bees. So
Oh, that's an excellent point, because the standard style of beekeeping is documented in thousands of books.
it is.
And lots of mentors, lots of people who could give a hand, where if you have a self-extracting flow hive, there's so few of us who are familiar with it that can really give help, that, anything that's
Yeah,
really
exactly.
different is going to be something that you might want to build into after you've gained experience with the standard equipment.
Absolutely. Beekeeping is hard enough in the standard equipment. There's no need to start with something that is uncommon, unfamiliar, and quite frankly, a little bit more difficult to keep your bees alive in this particular climate. So we encourage people to start in a standard style. So with the Langstroth type frames and boxes, you can have some variation. So there's some ways to personalize that as well. So that's what we do, is we try to assess what they want to do, steer them in a way that makes sense, because ultimately we're here to help beekeepers be better beekeepers.
That's really important, because people who get started at it can make so many mistakes that cost their neighbors.
And they get discouraged too,
Yeah,
and they don't last.
They get
And it's-
discouraged. They don't last. So you don't want that to happen. People are putting in $1,000, $2,000 out of their pockets, and you want to make sure that that's an investment that is worth something.
And I'm assuming, I'm a fairly new beekeeper, and this is an assumption right now. So is the method of beekeeping going to change with the different spaces of hives? So the advice that I would give someone that's running a top hive is going to be completely different versus with the advice someone running a Langstroth.
It will be. I mean, the principles of bee health are the same.
Right.
For example, if you've got a top bar, you need to feed a little bit differently, because the same style of feeders aren't always available with that.
Right.
You need to consider how you're going to collect honey, how you're going to wrap them in the winter. So a lot of beekeepers are very DIY orientated.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fantastic. You need to be a little bit hands-on and creative when you're a beekeeper. But often just having access to a $30 bee cozy off the shelf that you can wrap your bees with in the fall
Yeah.
is invaluable, right?
Well-
Rather than spending $75 on parts and styrofoam and coming up with a ways to
The
wrap
co-
it.
The bee cozy thing, that's a good point there, because it kind of gets a bad rep. And
I don't think so. It's a great product.
it's a great product, but just initially, just from what I heard from other experienced beekeepers, they're like, no, I don't really like using it. But I mean, yeah, exactly. It's $30. You put that on, and you're
Yeah, to be fair, Bettina,
Yeah.
I have seen lots of people use products inaccurately or incorrectly. Bee Cozy is kind of one of those things as well, where there's a way to orientate it so that the technology, and I know some people might roll their eyes when I say there's a technology in the Bee Cozy, but there's that front flap. It has less insulation so that it allows a tunnel in the front for bees to access the top entrance. So there's a way to put it on that's most beneficial.
right.
And with any piece of equipment or product or mite treatment or extractor, if you're using it incorrectly, you're not going to get the full benefit to it.
Right. And then, yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to the point that Ron just made about Flow Hive.
Yeah. The flow
I don't think there's anything wrong with people starting with a Flow Hive. We don't sell them here, but there's lots in Calgary, there's lots in Canada. They're very expensive. I have one. I inherited it from a beekeeper who passed away, and I've used it a couple of years. And honestly, it solves kind of the easiest part of beekeeping.
The easiest
The
part.
easiest part of beekeeping, it solves that. So actually getting the honey out of the comb is really quite simple. And keeping the bees alive inside the hive and healthy and safe, that's the hardest part. And it doesn't help with that at all.
Right.
It might actually make it difficult.
I was just going to say that it probably even hinders the ability to do the inspections, or at least creates a mindset in the beekeeper that I don't have to worry about anything but handling this honey. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's very specific to our region of beekeeping. So if we were in different areas, Australia, for instance,
Where it was
maybe,
developed.
maybe it has a better use case, but
Right.
it's hard for us to do that here.
Right. So we are at Worker and Hive. We're talking to Robert McBain, who is the chief around here, and Robert is having an open house. So we've got people who are coming in off the street and wandering in to grab some coffee, which is over there, by the way, and then we're going to invite them to sit down and have a chat with us too a little later. So yes, scoff if you wish. We have a scoffer in the audience here.
So we call it Social Saturday. We do one Saturday a month. It's very informal and casual. So some weeks we get a couple of dozen people show up. Others, it's a very slow start, like it is today, where we have plenty of time to chat.
Oh, that helps.
So we'll see what happens.
So we've kind of walked you through the beekeeper, the new beekeeper coming to the door and wondering what to buy. So can you tell us, what are your most popular items? What do people mostly pick up when they come in here for the first time?
Well, we try to make it simple. I think there is a danger in giving people too many options to overload them with choices. So we put together a few very popular kits. They're bundles that include pretty much everything you need to get started your first spring and summer of beekeeping. So it's a couple of brood boxes, it's a bottom board, it's queen excluder, it's the frames that go in, it's some honey supers, the lids, a feeder. And
that's a lot of different pieces. So do you have to talk to people and tell them how to use each piece?
Hopefully they should know this stuff.
Yeah, we'll answer specific questions for sure. It's difficult to walk people through how to be a beekeeper in 15 minutes in a store with other customers around. And that's something that we run into once in a while, is people want to learn the A to Z, of
we're in Canada, folks.
A to Z of beekeeping in 10 minutes in person. And it's a little bit self-serving, but we do encourage people to get into a class. So whether it's with us, whether it's with you, Ron, or with their local club, a class is absolutely the best way to learn these things. People have a tendency to retain that information better when they're in a group setting, and ideas can get bounced off of several people. It seems to be a much better way to learn how to get through your first year of beekeeping.
Plus, it can last anywhere from 8 or 10 hours up to 20 hours, and also includes some follow-up field work and
absolutely,
and mentoring associations. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to getting started, and hopefully most of the people coming to your door have had bees for a while. Those are your repeat people, and that's probably the bulk of, well, after the first day that they've been to the door, everybody's a repeat customer.
That's right. And to be very clear, Ron, is we have built a business around being beekeepers, helping other beekeepers. So we have no issues taking a few minutes when we have the ability to answer specific questions and offer guidance and support. So we do that. Our staff are all beekeepers, and that's important to us to be able to help out that way.
Yes, absolutely. I would say so. So let's talk a little bit about your beekeeping. We'll come back to your store again, how long it's been around, where it's located, and we're going to put some links up on our various outlets, the podcast and the video YouTube channel. But you also are a beekeeper.
I am.
You started as a beekeeper before you built this business here.
I did.
I got some footage of your beehives and your apiaries, if you're okay with me putting it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. There was nothing looking terrible in there, was there?
No, it's very.
Was the grass mowed?
It was the cup. It was mowed. Yes,
Okay.
it was. It was that mowed area.
I hope not during the month of May, because we do appreciate the no mow May.
Well, no. It was this
I
specific.
don't mow my yards very well.
Okay, good.
This specific area. It's particular with the owner.
I think you have footage of the Nuke yard.
The Nuke yard, and then the one by just by past Strathmore, like going towards east.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sorry, that was
I
a little tangent, but I'll put it up here while he's talking about it.
And I'll cut this whole piece out of the podcast because it's totally irrelevant.
It is a
People
little
are
bit.
listening.
I was just should have just put it up. Shouldn't even asked.
Well, you could ask when we're all done when we shut the camera off.
Yeah, that's right.
We go
I
home.
don't want to forget. But I
You
don't
would
have to-
forget.
Yeah, it's okay. Whatever. Now we
Okay.
got to cut more stuff out.
Speak.
Okay. Yes. I am a beekeeper, so I've been keeping bees.
Still a beekeeper, even running this business?
Yeah. Every once in a while, we try to hire a beekeeper, and sometimes it works out great, and other times it not so much.
Okay, do you want to talk about some of those people that didn't work out very well and just describe?
not at all.
No, I didn't think so. It's
I will talk about we've got a guy who I hired as a woodshop worker, and I was very impressed because he applied for the job, and 3 days later he showed up in the store with his resume, and it turns out that he had just like that morning got off the plane from Ukraine, or via another country actually, and his first stop was here to meet me in person. So
his first stop in Canada, at least in Calgary, was to come and see you.
yeah. So it was
Poor guy. So you kind of set him up like this is a Canadian, and then he's there standing there thinking, what am I
It was
getting
great.
into?
He's been an excellent hire. He's fantastic in the wood shop. He had some colonies on his family farm a few years back, and not much experience in the last 10 years with bees. But he was right out there helping me last summer, and yeah, it was fantastic. I didn't think he enjoyed it very much, but
He did not enjoy it?
I didn't think he did, but now he's talking about working weekends and evenings beekeeping this summer. So
Good.
So something
Yeah.
something clicked.
Yeah, you just ruined another person's life there, Robert.
Possibly, yeah.
Yes. So it's nice. It's nice when you can give people a hand up. You know, like this was a person who needed a job, who was willing to do almost anything from what you're describing.
Well, no, Ron, I'll temper that a little bit. These are very well-spoken. I'm lucky to have him.
Yes.
I don't think it's the other way around.
Okay. No, that's spoken as a really good employer when you have that attitude towards the people working with you. That you're glad to have them along.
Yeah, we
Yes.
did.
So beekeeping out in the field, you make nukes.
I do. We do. We sell nukes in the spring. We don't always sell 100% of our own stock. We partner with other local commercial beekeepers. Just simply the volume and the unpredictability of our winters don't allow us to commit to the 400, 500, 600 nukes in the spring without knowing that we have somebody who has 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 colonies supporting us. So we're very thankful that there are people like that we partner with. But when we do receive the colonies from them, we go through every single colony. We inspect them for ourselves. We make adjustments where needed. We check for queen rightness. We'll mark a queen if we see them. And we 100% stand behind everything that we deliver to our customers. So after that point, it kind of feels like our own bees, but realistically, we have the support of some commercial beekeepers that provide us with the bees.
Right. And those are sold in standard equipment.
We sell those in a 5-frame Pro Nuke box. So Pro Nuke is a brand. It's about 10 years on the market right now. It's made in the U.S. by a wonderful commercial beekeeper down there. He saw a need and he developed what I think is the best transport box on the market. There's some really good ones out there, like the Jester Easy Nuke boxes. They're fantastic. But I really like the Pro Nuke box. It's a UV stable plastic box that has
UV stable, meaning that you can reuse them year after year, even if they've been sitting out in the sun.
We have some that sit out all summer long and get reused. They're weather resistant. They don't deteriorate in the sun, which is important. They've got excellent built-in ventilation, a interesting way to solve some of the dunnage problems when you're transporting them. They've got some built-in feeding options, lots of room for bees to grow and expand. Very secure.
Just to kind of put everything in context, when is your Nuke delivery or Nuke pickup date happening, your first one, and kind of what should be the price expected for per Nuke?
Every year is a little bit different. We try to start making our Nukes right around the last couple of days of April, first couple of days of May.
Okay.
All weather dependent. If we can get started a little bit earlier, that's great too. We take a very tempered might not be the right word, but a very cautious approach to stealing resources from the mother colonies. And so we make them up for multiple colonies, making sure that they're not stressed and they're large enough to grow into something for that season. A little bit of rambling there.
Right. And
so we make them up. We like to have them in our care, the ones that we're making ourselves, for about 17 days. So that allows.
Why is 17 days? What happens at the 18th day that you want to make sure they're gone?
The time
They fall apart on 18 days, or
no, actually, it's probably closer to 21 to 23 days that we have them. So I like to.
so you
I make them up, and then on day 2 or day 3, we introduce a queen.
okay.
And then 5 days after that, we'll do a quick queen check to make sure that the queen's been released. And then 10 days after that, we'll do our first real inspection. So that's day 17 right there. At that point, we can tell if the queen is out, how she's laying. She should have, a frame of eggs laid. And depending on how quickly she got released, they're starting to cap that brood over. So at that point, we know that she's established, that
Whoever's buying it is going to get something that's viable, that has potential.
Yeah. At that point, the vast majority of the bees that we built that colony with have emerged. She's got lots of room to lay, and it's a big, healthy, young colony of bees that we can release.
Right. So, just because I'm personally curious, but I'm sure that a number of other people would be interested in knowing how many of these nukes, before they go off to one of your customers, have to be called or rejected by you. And that isn't a reflection at all on anything you're doing, but it's almost invariably because of queen quality. But they could also drift. Other things could happen. But do you lose 10 or 20% before they are sold off to people?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is only sometimes. So when we build our own nukes, we generally will see about a 90 to 95% queen take rate.
Oh, that's great.
So we're going to build about 15 or 20% more than what we expect to be able to sell.
Okay.
And at that 10-day mark, if we find anything that the queen isn't out, she's not laying, we've got lots of emergency cells, anything like that, we give those resources to a smaller colony, a smaller nuke that does have a queen and is queen right. So we don't try to drop another queen in. It's too late, in my opinion, to do it then. We use those resources to boost other colonies.
Right. And you do have honey producing colonies. When you say other colonies, these...
Well, we use that in the nuke yard.
Oh,
so
in the nuke yard.
we'll shake those
Okay.
into other smaller nukes and boost those. Because you're right, there is some drifting. When we set up a yard, there might be 100, 150, 200 nukes in one particular area. The Pro Nuke boxes are great because they're all colored differently, and
Yes.
we orientate them randomly in the yards.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered, is it Nuke or Nuck?
Depends if you're in Manitoba or not.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Manitoba beekeepers call them Nukes, and they say pollen. And I've always called it a nuke because it's short for nucleus.
Right.
So that makes sense to me. And I call it pollen because that
Pollination.
seems
Yeah.
right. So
So wait,
I don't know. Yeah, it feels a little bit regional to be honest.
They call pollen Polish?
No, I've heard them refer to it as pollen.
Yeah.
Oh, Poland. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's regional across Manitoba. I really can't answer that, but
Have you noticed that too, though? A lot of Manitoba beekeepers call them Nucks.
I've a couple. But I will say that throughout all of my beekeeping in the United States and in other parts like Saskatchewan and other areas, I've invariably heard the word nuke. And I always thought that was the only correct pronunciation.
Yeah, me too.
For the same reason that you identified, that nuke is short for nucleus. And
Yeah.
it's a nucleus colony.
But yeah, so we do that. Do you want to get back to the nuke building?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Let's get back to it.
Nukes / Nucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time I heard that term was at the beekeeping course that you taught in 2020. Neil Birchman.
Who is from?
Manitoba.
He said, I call it Nuck, but you guys probably know it as Nuke.
Yes.
And
I think maybe if we could get everybody on board with calling them Nucks, that would be good, because I am pretty confident that our first Instagram page got banned because we were talking about nukes. And
like nuclear warfare?
I think that's why it got banned, but I don't know for sure because
Your first what got banned?
Instagram account.
No.
Yeah, for the store here.
Because you were talking about nukes.
Nukes. That's my wild guess.
Like you were saying the word nuke. Like it was voice that it was being picked up because it's being spelled N-U-C. But do you think the text was also being?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and
Okay.
I'm not very savvy when it comes to the social media applications, but
I don't know. So you're not allowed to sell nuclear bombs or nuclear warheads, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
we got to bleep this out.
so nukes or something. Oh, we're going to have to edit this pretty heavily. You sure it's not because somebody identified nuke as like Nuki?
no, that's Nookie.
I know, but if you're from Manitoba, you probably say Nuki instead of Nuki.
Sure. Yeah. So I don't know. A wild guess that that's why we got our account deleted. And if you have ever been through that process, there's like zero recourse. I couldn't even find a way to file a complaint or anything. But anyways,
There's no God access or anything to the back door to get into
The social media, they've like Google, like Facebook, they've all seemed to set up in a way where there is no customer service to access. Everything is done online. You got to figure it out online or there's no one that you could directly call and
so we just
explain to-
recreated it.
Yeah.
And we started over.
Wow.
yeah.
So if you're one of our 316 followers on Instagram, thank you.
Oh, 317 as of today.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we have been talking with Robert McBain at Worker and Hive, and he is operating a huge retail supply house for beekeepers with 3,000 different itemized pieces of equipment, materials for sale. As he pointed out, several of them are duplicates because you've got this size of a bee suit and another size of a bee suit that's count twice. I don't care. There are different sized beekeepers. You've got to supply them all. So that
It's
counts.
still very difficult to manage.
It's still very difficult to manage. I could believe that. Before we go back out into the bee yard, which I do want to do again and talk more about the nukes and your beekeeping and your honey production, let's describe the building that we're sitting in a little bit. So right now we are in your teaching room. We're in a, go ahead, you tell us.
We are. So we got started 6 or 7 years ago in a shared warehouse space. We had a storefront, but we were only about 4,000 square feet. Warehouse, wood shop, everything included.
Which seems a lot, but not for 3,000 unique.
It was difficult.
Yeah.
It was difficult. There was times in the summer when we had no walkway through the warehouse, and every morning we needed to move pallets outside so that we could access things, and it was crowded. It was very, very crowded. So when we made the decision to move from there, we looked for about a year and a half for a suitable spot, and we had a few things that were absolutes that we needed to have in our next space. So a big, bright showroom was important. And so now our showroom is about 1,500 square feet.
Wow.
And it is very well lit. It's a comfortable place to be. And the other one was to have a suitable classroom where we could have permanent setup for teaching classes or for doing social events, that sort of thing. So we found this building here. It had 3 separate storefronts. It's a shared building, excellent landlords. And we set up the showroom in one. We put the classroom on the other side. We've got an unused storefront in the middle, which we're still deciding what to do. Quite a large warehouse, a large wood shop. And
I should add, there's multiple sets of public restrooms for people, for patrons to use, which is, it's
well,
like,
public might be a little bit extreme.
Yeah, if you're driving past, I'll post the location.
Yeah.
And you can just swing in here. Usually one or another door is open. You don't have to be a beekeeper. It's public. Just come in and use the washrooms.
with that storefront that you were just saying, you could start competing with Petro-Canada.
Well,
They're right across the street.
For doing what?
I mean,
washrooms.
well, they're selling all sorts of snacks. You could start selling honey snacks, like just all sorts of nature stuff.
I could. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Well, you're next to a company that sells popcorn and another company that sells ice cream.
And it's the only marble slab that I've been to where they don't have any cones. They give everything a cup.
Oh, is that? I don't know.
Yeah, I went there a couple times on my break.
Is
And,
that only?
It's because they're like a production. They put out orders, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a funny thing to add. They didn't have waffle cones. They didn't have any type of cone. And I
Okay,
had-
well, I'll bring that up at our next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, you guys must all get together and decide what you're going to sell so you're not competing against each other. None of the others have started to sell bee supplies, like the marble slab. You could sell them honey because honey and ice cream go together so well.
I think so as well. I know that Art at Nuck was doing a really great honey ice cream, and I talked to Cam. He's the owner of Marble Slab Canada, and so they do some development of their different flavors and everything at this location here. And he sent me a text and he goes, "Man, we just tried a honey ice cream, and it was terrible."
Oh,
So
okay.
he was probably using
It's poor honey.
Poor
You've gotta
honey.
have that
You need some
honey
better
that's
honey.
really smooth and
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think it would taste like kind of like butterscotch vanilla or something like that.
You think so? Yeah.
But we got one of our audience members left, but we had two more join. Should we ask if they would like to join to comment, or what are we doing with
I'd like to
finish up?
continue
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Robert and
There's coffee and some snacks.
yeah, we do have people in here and it's fine. Come on over and there's coffee, there's all kinds of delicious. I had one of everything.
We're just doing a little
Yeah.
impromptu interview.
Yeah. We have a podcast and this is going to be on it, but yeah.
There's not too many times we can find Robert kind of unoccupied,
Awake.
and we like
Yeah, so
we kind of cornered him. He invited us.
And Law Robert, we were supposed to give you a bad time today because it's usually Jesse that does copy. Yeah. It's your turn.
It's my turn, yeah. I think that's why nobody showed up. I should have at least sort of implied that Jesse was going to be here.
We came all the way from McGrath
Okay.
just to visit you.
Oh, well.
we're going to
Okay,
turn
well,
him
we'll-
loose really soon.
We'll wrap
so-
it up and we'll get to the chatting.
Yeah.
You know what? We're not working. You do what you need to do.
Well, if you would like to come on and chat about your beekeeping experiences,
Let me think about this.
Okay, it's a definite no. That's okay. But we are talking to Robert at Worker and Hive today, and we're in his education room, the room where he holds classes in wax making and beekeeping and building equipment and so on. And we were just getting a bit of a rundown of the layout of this shop. And I think I might have missed the number of square feet, but you've got a lot here.
Yeah, we're at just over 15,000 square feet of space. So a good portion of that is the warehouse. And the next largest size is our wood shop. So we've got a full wood shop that we make a lot of the products ourselves here. So all the bottom boards, inner covers, telescoping lids, screen bottom boards, you name it. We're currently bringing in a high quality box out of Quebec,
Mm-hmm.
and we're assembling those here. And we're also bringing in frames from those folks as well and assembling them here. So we do a little bit of value add on that stuff, but primarily the wood shop is going 40 hours a week right now, making bottom boards and kits and some new products. We've developed a new observation hive that we're going to have for sale this year.
Oh, I love observation hives. That'll be fantastic. So is this your own design or did you, yes?
It's our own design. We've iterated on kind of the common one that you find out there, but my idea was to build it on top of a 5-frame Nuke box. So you have the option to just keep a small colony going at all times, and then you would bring one frame up into the observation part,
Right.
and that allows you to. And there's a queen excluder material in between the two compartments that allows you to either protect your queen and keep her in the bottom,
Yes.
out of sight, or to move her up and being
Keep
only
her
one-
up there.
Yeah, and being only one frame, you have access to 95% of the visible area. There's a couple of places she could hide, but for the most part, she would be
You're
out
going to
visible
see
for the
that queen.
kids.
Yes.
yeah, that was a big thing with the observation hive that the club has, the association, that all people were always wondering where the queen is, and she's not, like 75% of the time she's hiding.
Yeah, Bert actually, I borrowed a few of his observation hives to do some classroom demonstrations, and he told me that you could offer a cash prize for anybody who finds the queen, and it's kind of a wink because there's no queen in that observation part.
Cool. What a way to
And,
trick the little children.
Yeah.
That's Bert
Yeah,
Bluen, folks. That's famous
classic
for
Bert right there.
No. I like Bert. Bert's a good man. No, that's really funny. That's great. So I think I'll try that. I'll set up a box and I'll go one step further. I'll say, if you want to participate, it'll cost you $1, a loonie, and you'll have half an hour to try to find the queen. And if you do find her, you get $10.
That's
That's the way to do it.
perfect. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we don't want to take up your whole day. You've got a lot on the go. You've got people who've driven about 2 hours to come just to see you, and we want to make sure you have a chance to circulate among people. And we're here to enjoy the coffee, the open house, the Saturday. What did you call it? Social
Saturdays. Yeah.
Okay, so we're in with the socialists here in Canada today, and Social Saturday is just kind of the theme of the nation. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
You laugh. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about politics?
I don't mind at all. I'll talk about anything. Yeah. Stoicism, religion, politics, even bees sometimes.
I've been actually, I'm going to say, I've been meaning to bring this up. Worker and Hive is awfully similar to
Hammer and sickle.
Worker and Farmer.
Yes. Plus they have the social days too. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're secretly a communist. Hey, I got to tell this story. I have to tell you a story now, okay? I went to the United States last year for my 70th birthday party. It was held in San Diego, where one of my sisters lives. So she hosted it. We had people come from all over North America come down for my birthday party in San Diego. I drove there, and I did about half or more of the driving, but my 18-year-old daughter, I let her drive across the border, just for her to have the experience of entering the United States, handing over our passports. So we get to the border, and there's this really nice guy. He's got a big grin. He just seemed like such a nice American. And he goes, let's see your passports. Okay, both Canadian. Hey, you were born in the United States, so you're still an American citizen. Do you have a U.S. passport? And I go, no, I don't. I don't have one. Are you a communist? And then
Those are the two options.
and then he stops and he goes, don't answer that. Because if I had even jokingly said yes, it would have meant I couldn't get into the United States, and there would have been he would have had to put a stamp. They actually have a stamp that they can put on your passport that says identified as a communist. And but he was such a jovial guy. He was just a really nice guy working at the Montana-Canadian border. And he just laughed. He wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally say the wrong thing after he asked that silly question. But he was just in a good mood. Didn't ask me anything else, why I gave up my citizenship. When did I give it up? None of that. Which, so far, crossing the border maybe 10 times since relinquishing my U.S. citizenship, I've never been bothered or asked. It's just, I was young when I came to Canada, and Canada is where I was supposed to have been born. So, here I am.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just a funny comment that I thought I would make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah, it
whatever.
wasn't my first choice of names, but it's grown on me for sure. I wanted something like Robert's Amazing Bee Store, or something.
Roberts.
Just Roberts. Just
Yeah.
plain
I got
Roberts.
outvoted.
But no, Worker and Hive is actually like anytime I tell that name to someone, they always stop and they're like, what was that? Not from that, but when they're like, oh wow, that's a really nice name, because it is that Worker and Hive, that's it's an interesting take on kind of modern marketing, because there's other Dolce and Gabbana or whatever,
Yeah,
there's some luxury aspect to it.
we wanted to be along those same lines, exactly how you described it, but also kind of like a law firm.
A law firm. Yeah.
Or an insurance company.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Like Matheson or something. Or,
Exactly.
How about Worker, Hive, and Sons?
Worker and Hive and Sons. Yes. Good idea.
Or
McBain and Smolders.
McBain and Smolders.
Well, she's got to pony up some capital to get her name on the board.
Oh, yeah. We all do.
Would you put your name last, or if that?
What do you mean?
Would you want McBain first, or would you want it last?
Oh, it has to be first because he was here first.
But isn't usually I don't know. isn't the last to be the power player. I don't know.
Okay, if you're writing a paper for a scientific journal and you're the principal investigator, you run the lab, usually your name is last.
Okay.
And the person who does the originating, the work, the most, I shouldn't say all the work, but a lot of the work who's really key to it is first. And then there are about 20 names in between who all contributed in one way or another.
I see.
So the last name then is significant in that case. I don't know about law firms or insurance companies or about supply places for bees.
Yeah.
But
So now we're like, it is all coming for
I don't think we're off topic.
if anybody watches Suits, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There's this whole kind of thing that they do, and they're like, no, I want my name to be first. And
Yeah,
Or
there's a lot more money at stake in situations like that.
well,
Yeah, these.
you never know with these.
If anybody wants to offer to put their name on our sign, then I'll entertain those offers.
Okay. Mixture and Moseshvili, or Moseshvili and Mixture.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Ron?
And M.
Yeah, M&M. Yeah.
M&M. Okay, so let's kind of wrap up. We've covered a lot. We can always come back and talk to you again and flesh out some of the more interesting details that we just kind of skimmed over. We didn't talk too much about the honey part of it, but I do know that you have an initiative going about local honey, where beekeepers in certain specific parts of even a city like Calgary have got a label, or at least their area has been designated. Can you describe that a little bit?
My personal honey company is called Community Honey, and the idea, 10 or 15 years ago was that we would create a service where people could list their community and what type of honey they make, and then we could connect their neighbors to them. Never really got off the ground, but I still use that as my personal honey company. And so when I make, I keep bees out at Pseudo Farms just north of Airdrie, and so I take that honey that I produce there, and I put that it came from Pseudo Farms
How do
community.
you spell pseudo?
That's SOUTO.
Okay, because
Pseudo.
when I'm hearing pseudo farms, I'm thinking of a farm that's not really a farm.
No D, yeah,
Yeah.
Pseudo. It's their family name.
Okay.
It's a great farm market. They've got, I think, about 15 acres of carrots and cucumbers and garlic. They
Wow.
grow right
Wow.
there. And then they also bring up fresh fruit from I believe it's the Nelson area or Vernon that their family farms are in.
Okay. Okay.
So they do a really good job. We keep a nice size apiary there, and we sell. I manage the bees for them, and
And it's pseudo honey.
and it's pseudo-
CSEUDO-HONY. So pseudo honey is mostly sugar syrup.
almost entirely. Yes.
Almost entirely. No, just kidding. Pseudo. Okay, so
Or maple syrup.
you
It's too expensive.
you are also thinking of putting up a custom extracting business within your shop here?
Nothing's off the table, but we just haven't gotten there.
Right. You've got a lot on the go. You're a busy man. I don't want to take up your whole day with this discussion. We've got a lot of interesting points. And just to kind of summarize then, we are in Calgary. We're going to put some links so that people will go right to your web page, but they can go to workerandhive.com
That's correct.
and see all the supplies. You will ship anywhere in the world, but mostly in Canada or US too?
Yeah, mostly we're shipping inside Canada. We do ship into the States probably 2 or 3 times a week. It's
Wow.
it's not a lot, but it's not totally
That
unheard
is
of.
a lot. That is a lot going into the States 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, and we've shipped as far away as Australia, but there's not a lot of demand. The nice thing about beekeeping is there's a very localism aspect to it. So people
Yes.
do like to support the local, and that's important to us as well.
Right. And people around here with the Calgary area having 300 or 400 active beekeepers, we're really glad that there's somebody here that can supply us with all of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for this. Thank you for the time you've taken with us. Was there anything you'd like to add today that we haven't really covered that we could just touch on before we go?
Nothing that's not self-serving. But I
please,
think
you can be self-serving here.
I think next time we have a conversation, we should talk a little bit more about building nukes and selling nukes and buying nukes.
Okay, we're almost into nuke season now. People are
We
booking
are
nukes.
fully into nuke season now. We also sell packages, so
Right.
New Zealand package bees, which is a good option as well.
Where do those queens come from for the New Zealand packages?
New Zealand.
They're from New
Yeah,
Zealand.
New Zealand queens. So next time we chat, let's talk a little bit more about how you can be involved in building nukes. Because I
Me?
get, well, everybody, I get you. I get lots and lots of inquiries about, oh, I've got 150, 200 colonies. I want to sell nukes in the spring. How do I do it? Can you buy them from me and then resell them? And I'm not opposed to doing that, but we have a very specific criteria for what we want to see in the bees that we put our name on and go out the door. So
Right, absolutely.
there's a very specific set, and we've been tossing around a class basically, or a workshop on how to build a commercial quality nucleus colony of bees and the criteria for that.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, I've personally been a supporter of the story. You know, when I first started out beekeeping, I had no idea about anything. I searched up beekeeping supplies, literally the name, Worker and Hive. I'm like, that's really curious. Like, no association at all with that comment I made earlier. I showed up and had a wonderful experience, and then it's been pretty much off to the races since then. And that was 5 years ago.
All right. Okay, well, thank you. And we're going to wrap up right here. We appreciate the time you spent with us and hope that your business just continues to grow and you find uses for all this extra space that you've got. I'm sure you will, because you're such an innovative, dynamic person. You're going to create some really good stuff here for our community. And we appreciate what you've done already. You've been volunteering, donating, doing a lot for beekeepers in general. And I also know that you have some curiosity and interest in the native bees too, having some supplies and things like that. Certainly is part of the whole thing, just to kind of donate to our general environment. And we really do appreciate that. So, Bidzina.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and join us next week at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for a fresh conversation about bees, and maybe with a guest, maybe not. I don't know. You'll have to see. But all right. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Worker and Hive, for hosting us again. And yeah.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thanks, Robert.
Go drink some coffee now.
Go drink some coffee now, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.